Denver 7 has learned that the semi-truck driver in this deadly crash on 285 last week was in this country illegally. That's coming directly from ICE. That crash happened near Conifer last Tuesday. A driver in one of the cars was killed. 47-year-old Ignacio Cruz Mendoza, the semi-truck driver, was arrested that night. Denver 7 Investigates has now learned he's been on ICE's radar for years.
Investigative reporter Natalie Chuck went back to the crash site today and spoke to neighbors who say this stretch of highway is notoriously dangerous.
It's been nearly 1 week since that deadly crash right here along the highway, and you can still see all of the debris that is left behind from it. Plus, a sign right there saying slow down, reminding drivers to go the speed limit. All day long, we have been digging into records for the trucking company that the driver was working for, and it turns out it has a history of violations.
285 is a raceway all the way anyway, always has been.
That frustration with speeding on 285 came to a head last week with a devastating and deadly crash. This video shows the destruction left behind after a semi-truck heading south down this 2-lane road rolled over, dumping its load onto 5 other cars. A driver died, another was seriously injured. Were you guys here when that crash happened?
We heard it in our house.
What did it sound like?
The loudest boom we've ever heard.
Now, U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement is confirming the driver of the semi is in America illegally. Officials say 47-year-old Ignacio Cruz Mendoza is from Mexico, and he has been on ICE's radar for decades. ICE first became aware of him when he was arrested in Oregon on drug charges roughly 22 years ago. A judge eventually ordered he be taken back to Mexico. Since then, Cruz Mendoza has been removed from the United States or voluntarily returned to Mexico 16 times.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. How is that allowed?
We wanted to know the same thing, so we called the trucking company's number several times, but didn't get an answer. Records show the company has had more inspection violations than normal for a company within the last 2 years, a theme echoed in Cruz Mendoza's arrest affidavit. The document indicates one state trooper found 3 violations where drivers did not have a commercial motor vehicle driver's license. It also says one state trooper noticed the annual inspection sticker on the cab of the semi was from 2020. And one driver involved in the crash says the semi was going approximately 60 to 80 miles per hour, almost like it was a raceway.
When you're in the mountains, it's a different thing.
Cruz Mendoza is still in Jefferson County Jail. He is facing several charges, including vehicular homicide.
Illegal immigration has reached a crisis point. It's causing chaos and endangering lives across the United States. The latest nightmare in this unending tragedy that is the fall of America is highlighted by the case of Ignacio Cruz Mendoza, an illegal responsible for a deadly highway crash in Colorado. This is showing that we have a severe threat in our country. It's posed by unregulated entry into our country. This isn't an isolated incident. Obviously, it's a part of an ongoing descent into lawlessness and violence that federal policies are powerless to stop on purpose, and we need to refocus our energy. Ignacio Cruz Mendoza is a 47-year-old illegal from Mexico. He's been deported from the United States an astounding 16 times since 2002. 16 times. And yet, despite this ridiculous number of deportations, he managed to slink his ass back into this country again and again. And on June 11th, he caused a catastrophic crash in Colorado. Driving a semi-truck without a commercial license, Cruz Mendoza lost control of his vehicle, resulting in the death of one person and severe injuries to another.
64-year-old Scott Miller was described as an adventurer, an avid rock climber who loved his wife, Deanne, of 46 years, his daughter, Michelle, and his grandchildren as well. And amidst all of the grief that the family is facing in light of this crash, they're trying to channel it into purpose, making changes on Colorado's highways to make life safer for everyone. Deanne Miller walked out of the Jefferson County courtroom with a purpose.
My husband would be alive today if there was more accountability on the truckers on the road and there isn't. And so I'm going to be fighting for that.
She and her daughter tearfully testifying on behalf of her husband, Scott Miller, the 64-year-old man killed in a truck crash on Highway 285 last week.
He was just young. He was only 64, and I just want everybody to know my dad was fun. He was an awesome dad. He was an awesome grandfather.
This incident is a damning indictment of our immigration enforcement system. It's a damning indictment on the lack of passion and apathy from common citizens. Our system is incapable of keeping dangerous individuals out of our country. That much is clear. It's infuriating to see people running to federal figures like Alejandro Mayorkas, let's go impeach him, and blaming Joe Biden and asking Joe Biden for solutions. Are you out of your mind? These leaders have proven time and time again that they are incapable of addressing the issue effectively. Voting for Donald Trump isn't going to magically solve this problem either. The focus needs to shift to local action where real change can happen. A study by the Center for American Progress in 2016 estimated the cost of deporting the then, at that time, 11 million undocumented illegals at around $114 billion. This figure includes apprehension, detention, legal processing, and transportation costs. The American Action Forum provided a similar estimate, projecting costs up to $400 billion to $600 billion when including economic impacts and enforcement over a 20-year period. I know we sent a lot of money overseas. They don't have that same energy here, but that's not the only problem. This just is not realistic. I don't blame Trump. I'm not against Trump. He's doing politics. This isn't a diss-Trump video or moment, but he's selling a pipe dream. It's not happening. And even if we did agree as a country, federally or even locally, got together, you are an idiot if you think giving money to the same people who caused the problem will help the problem. I know the Border Patrol will blame top brass. I call bullish on that. It's like giving money to an arsonist who says, I burned down the house only because someone told me to. The Border Patrol's oath to the Constitution means nothing if they can't uphold it in practice. They shouldn't be rewarded with money. The only way to reclaim control is through local level action. That's why the standoff in Texas, which I have no idea where that stands now, no pun intended, with Greg Abbott, but I will revisit that. That's why that standoff, or in this case, the sit-off with Greg Abbott, mattered. States like Arizona must take charge and become red states, much like Florida. There's no reason why Arizona is what it is. It's based off of one Maricopa. If people don't align with the view of a red state, they should be forced to move out to states like California. Either comply and assimilate or get out. On a local area, this has nothing to do with anything going on in Washington, D.C. The time for action is now, and it begins with taking control of our local areas.
Middle MAGA.